I'm Dr. Neesley, and I'd like to welcome you to Rockbridge's New Testament Survey. And a little bit about myself in introduction. For 37 years, I served in the local church, but about 2 years ago, I became a hospital chaplain. And I serve in the city of Houston. Now, there's a lot to learn about Houston because Houston is a blend of all kind of cultures. We have an African American culture, we have an Asian culture, we have a number of folks from all around the world that come in to Houston. And in the ancient world, there was a great blending of culture. You had the Greeks that gave you a wonderful language, and they gave you a philosophical background, into the Romans that gave you a road system and a very stable government. You know, today in America, there's a lot of division, but I want you to think about the ancient world. Boy, the ancient world had some division. You had the Pharisees, and they were sure about their doctrine. And then you had the skeptics, and they weren't sure about anything. You had the Sadducees, and all they wanted was things to be the same. And you had the Zealots, and they wanted to, of course, change everything. You had the Essenes, who wanted monastic purity, and meanwhile, you had others like the Epicureans, and they had no pleasures denied. So there was a number of different things that were going on in that culture, just like in Houston. We have a lot of things going on in our culture. And I just want to use my chest as a way to illustrate a little bit of the geography of the Holy Land. And so, kind of simply put, there's the Sea of Galilee, there's the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. And I can remember it this way, the Sea of Gargling, and then the Jordan River, and then the Dead Sea. And then, of course, that means up here we have the people that are in Galilee, then we have the people of Judah down by the temple, and then some area that you never want to go. Just a brief introduction, but I want to introduce you to our hospital. Now, behind these hospital rooms and doors are patients. These patients are going through a lot of things. Behind every door is a different story, a different past. Now, doctors or medical officials may classify them as either stroke patients or heart patients or COVID patients. But we as chaplains, we know that they're patients going through a certain history. There's a story behind it. You're going to open up your New Testament, you're going to look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you're going to say, Matthew, he had a story. He was a traitor. He was unclean. He was a tax collector. He was very intelligent, and he had great recording skills, thus a perfect candidate to record a New Testament gospel. He had a guy who had a very big house, but nobody wanted to come because he was a tax collector until that day that Jesus visited his tax collecting booth. So I want you to think each of these characters. Now, John, he was very connected. He was a fisherman. He was connected to his big brother James, and then they were connected to the brothers Simon and Andrew. Connected guy. And what about Luke? He was connected to Paul. We'll learn more about that. And what about Mark? First connected to Paul, but then very connected to Peter. So all along the way, we learn about connections. Allow me to share some of my connections. I'm the youngest of 6. I have 5 siblings, and I enjoy them. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married over 38 years. I have 2 adult kids and 2 grandkids. So during this week, we're going to learn about connections. What I want to encourage you to do is to log on early, stay in often, get involved in our forums, and don't be shaken up if all of a sudden Dr. Neesley wants a little more evidence or to push your thinking. That's not saying you're failing or declining. It's saying I'm pushing you, and you're growing, and you're changing and improving. Hey, so welcome. Welcome to New Testament Survey.